There is a silent war that is raging between China, Japan, and Korea, and has been for some time. And it's over a piece of history nearly 3,000 years old that has survived all the way to today. And it is, who invented the modern chopstick? But asking who invented it is the wrong question. What we really ought to be asking is, who perfected it? Now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the granddaddy of all chopsticks comes to us from China. But these were not the tools that we know today. These were long and they were clumsy, and they were likely used for cooking and fishing meat and fish out of pots. A much clumsier tool than the precision instruments we have today. The raw material, if you will, of a story that would be completed by others over many, many generations. Now, the real invention happened when the chopstick was adapted for the table rather than for just cooking. And each culture sort of mastercrafted it towards what was most important to them. The Chinese kept theirs long and blunt for reaching across tables for shared family meals. The Japanese, an island nation, forged theirs to be shorter with a finer point on the end. A perfect tool for the delicate work of deboning a fish. And in Korea, they were adapted to be metal and flat. Now, this is because in Korean cuisines, there are a lot of fermented and often very pungent side dishes that go along with regular meals, and you don't want that soaking into the wood of a chopstick you have to eat with all the time. And it is interesting the myths that can gather even around something like a chopstick. For the longest time, I believed that chopsticks were kept in royal courts in China and Japan because of the risk of assassination. Turns out that's completely not true. As a matter of fact, it was actually more affected by figures like Confucius, who believed that forks and knives used for stabbing food was barbaric, and so the chopstick was seen as being more refined and of a higher degree of culture, rather than those barbaric tools of violence. So the forks and the knives, they stayed in the kitchen, and the more gentle tools, well, they were allowed to come to the civilized table. And the chopstick was constantly changing over many, many generations. As a matter of fact, there was a period of time where another myth surrounded the chopstick, as well as other dining utensils, and it was believed that poison would tarnish silver. So silver bowls and silver cups and silver chopsticks were used by royalty and nobility for a very long time. But the reality is that that was a myth. And what really tarnished silver were things like garlic. And throughout the ages, the humble chopstick has been refined again and again by nobility and even by philosophy. So who invented the modern chopstick? Well, the reality is that there are a bunch of different versions of it, and they sort of all did. China built a prototype that would stretch throughout the ages, and then the Korean and Japanese cultures adapted that, or maybe came up with versions of their own that served the needs of their individual cultures. It's not a story of a single inventor, but of thousands of years of shared inspiration, sometimes probably rivalries, and craftsmanship. And it notes something that we often forget, and that is that culture is transient. It travels. All the things we know today came from somewhere else, and it'd be an overwhelmingly difficult task to pinpoint each one of them. But the stories are always grand. So until next time, my friends, stay bloodthirsty.